You have to get comfortable with setting ridiculously simple goals for yourself and then celebrating the heck out of them. Like, I passed out a business card yesterday, woohoo, right? Maybe they were terrified to do that before. And it doesn't matter what other people think of the win. That's a win for you. That's your momentum.
Welcome to Rise and Stride, where we empower you to take your next step in an ever-changing business landscape. Here's your host, Denise LeDuc-Fremming, President and CEO of the California Society of CPAs.
Hi, everyone, and thanks for joining us for another episode of Rise and Stride, where we bring together diverse voices to explore leading business topics to help you navigate the seemingly ever-changing landscape and all the uncertainty that is out there. Today's guest is Leah Yoneda, founder of Golden Ginkgo Group, a consultancy that helps professional service firms and individual leaders grow. Prior to launching her company, Leah spent 10 years as a chief marketing officer for accounting firm Seiler LLP and has more than 20 years experience in marketing and business development. I am so excited to talk to you today, Leah, because when you think about business development, I would say, and I want to get your thoughts on this, it's now more important than ever that everyone has that kind of element to their job, right? And that they have some comfort with that. So I am so excited to talk to you today. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. This is really exciting for me too. One point of correction, I didn't start as a chief marketing officer. I became one there at Seiler, but thank you for that vote of confidence there.
We always have that confidence for sure. So I wanted to start today with maybe just talking about your extensive background that you have in marketing and business development. And then just from your perspective, how did you get interested in this? How did you become an expert? Because you clearly are. And just what do others have to think about as they kind of navigate their journey?
It's really funny. Like most people I know, this wasn't like this planned thing where you grow up saying, I'm going to be an accounting marketer when I grow up. And it's not something that is easily explainable, like bring your mom to school, you know? So I was actually in the San Francisco Bay Area pursuing a job because I didn't care what job I had. I just wanted to get a job because my true love was academics. And I landed this really sweet gig at BDO. At the time it was BDO Seidman. And I happened to be the marketing coordinator there. And I fell so hard in love with business. It wasn't even funny. Very surprising to me. And that was sort of the job I was given. But it became so interesting. I love anything interdisciplinary, and I think that's a trend through both my academic and professional career, is that there's got to be variety, there's got to be development stuff, you know, new problems to solve, new people to work with, and that sort of thing. So I fell in love with business in general and marketing in particular. So it became sort of my thing. I can't imagine life now not having that kind of path, but it was not intentional. My career path from a certain point became very intentional. I decided like, well, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this to the best of my ability. So each decision I made around my career was purposeful. I had learning objectives and all kinds of good stuff. So you don't have to be, you know, born to this. You can build it.
That and we hear so many times from leaders, the journey is a winding road, right? You kind of just shift and move as things interest you. And just have a question because one of our values is curiosity for the organization. And so tell me just a bit about how that curiosity played into you getting really interested in marketing and business and all that it has to offer.
It got me in trouble. A lot, actually.
In good trouble. Is it good trouble?
No, actually, no. So as far as, you know, daily performance, it was a problem. As far as being curious as a leader, it's been an asset. So I will just say, you know, it's sort of the opposite of what got you here will get you forward. But sometimes what was a challenge to maybe your managers and team before will become an asset later. So have faith. But I was actually written up once. Leah is insatiably curious, ... And I thought, it wasn't a positive comment. Sometimes people can interpret curiosity as invasive. They feel threatened. You just want to know. And I happen to be the type of person that I thrive on a lot of information, a lot of different perspective, and I will ask questions. And it's not comfortable for people to have to explain stuff, especially if maybe they don't know and they don't know where you're going with this. Maybe they've had bad experiences in the past. And so actually my intentions were always so positive, but I just think people's prior experience with other untrustworthy partners sometimes plays a role in that, not being an asset. But oh my gosh, it's hard to manage curiosity when there's so many new cool stuff out there. And so I will dedicate certain parts of my week to just bunny trail and go where I go. And it's so refreshing. It's very invigorating.
So you do dedicate. I like that because I've been reading more about the dedication, and I've been trying to do more over the last year of dedicating certain time, right, to more about AI or tech. So just tell me for our readers, our listeners, of how you do that. So what intentionality you have to be able to set aside that time.
Well, if you had asked me a few weeks ago, I would have said, I'm doing so great. I have a whole day dedicated to flow state. Now it's deteriorated a little bit because I have some new clients. So I will say, even if you try for these, best practices for productivity, you might fall off the rails. Come back. It's still a good thing to do. I had blocked out a whole day to work on project stuff, noodle on ideas, research, pick up those recordings that I missed last week, and just sort of let my mind go where it wanted to. If your mind doesn't have space to do that, it's not going to have the innovation and creativity it needs to do what I think every business wants to do, is continue to exist and compete. I find that refreshing. I find that essential, actually, to maintaining my momentum. Essential. Flow state is an absolute must.
It is. And that was something you said that we should just double down on, is the come back to it. I think sometimes when you miss or you feel like you're not successful, you say, well, I can't go forward. But what you said is come back to it. You have to make sure you come back. And the more you do that, I think you have it's integrated into your world, or hardwired, that you have your flow state. So I think it's important to just remember that.
I think it is. I would pick apart that thing you kind of poked at. The classic example, I probably should be retired at this point, is your New Year's resolution to go to the gym. But I will take that example, and I can do really well for about 2 weeks on any new initiative. And it doesn't matter what, like meditation app, exercising a particular time, like flossing my teeth, like whatever it is, right, that you want to do and incorporate to your life. And it was really always so hard on myself for falling off, until a thought occurred to me that every attempt I made still counted. So every 2 weeks stint I did do exercise and was really good at it still gave me benefit, and it still mattered. And that was a really revolutionary thought. It just kind of came out of the blue one day. And so I love bringing that kind of perspective to people. Whether they have a marketing campaign that didn't quite work, you still learn something. If there was an attempt that a coaching client made for a new promotion, didn't make it, you got to figure out what to do with those moments.
It's good, really good advice. So now I'm going to go to something that so on a YouTube video, I love this. You say that, and respectfully and lovingly, you teach tech nerds how to sell, right? So tell us more, because I love that.
Technical nerds. I sometimes talk about technical professions. of which accounting is a part, legal, engineering, etc. There is a particular element to that work that attracts a particular type of person. These people are hardy. They can deal with detail, big ideas. They're not intimidated by a very large spreadsheet, stuff that would turn the stomachs of other people. They just love, right? And kind of nerdy. I am a nerd too.
Me too. I was
Yeah. God bless the nerds.
We're the nerds.
Yeah. So I want to be just very clear about what I mean about nerds. It is to me a wonderful thing. We only get better with age. We only get better with age. So how to sell is this like thing that for some people sort of dump upon them once they reach a certain level. And then there's this oh crud moment. Because there's sort of this heavy expectation that they need to win and get these, giant clients or do all this stuff all of a sudden. One of the things that I spend a lot of time doing with people, and it doesn't matter whether I have coaching relationship with them or if I just have a passing conversation, is it's so important to break things down and to do things incrementally. And I would always say that building momentum is way more important than any single big ticket item, any big goal, any big win that you might have in a single quarter. Momentum involves finding a process that works for you, finding people that work for you, finding a style that works for you, finding metrics that works for you, finding time and seasons and rhythms that work for you. And it will carry you forward even during low or lean times. And if you have sort of momentum, you know how to repair your engine if it starts to break down. You know when to swap out the tires. You know when to refuel. And so to me, it's way more important to be a mechanic than a race car driver. I don't know how that metaphor is going to work for a lot of people, but, and when I break it down like that, I say, look, you have to get comfortable with setting ridiculously simple goals for yourself and then celebrating the heck out of them. Like, I passed out a business card yesterday. Woohoo! Right? Maybe they were terrified to do that before. And it doesn't matter what other people think of the win. That's a win for you. That's your momentum.
I love that. I was taking a note because that's the momentum piece is interesting to me. How do you, and I like how you broke it down, process, people, metrics, time, seasons. How do you know when you're in, like you have that?
You start to see results, frankly, right? I don't know. I have met many people who are like, I'm doing all this stuff and I'm not getting results. And I'm like, okay, there's something missing. Obviously, metrics or assessment, like you cannot, as the saying goes, confuse activity with progress. So it sounds to me like you don't actually have a goal. Like you don't have a sense of cost benefit analysis, which I think accountants are exceptionally good at. And that skill, that perspective can be recruited for such things as sales, business development, marketing. It's really important. So you got to sit down and reflect, oh, was this worth my time? And here's what qualifies as being worth my time.
That's good. That is because so many times we miss the mark on the progress and the outcomes and the goals piece. It's and we don't have the right ones.
You know what, actually a bigger issue I see is someone was told to do XYZ by their mentor or manager or somebody, and they go do XYZ. It's a check the box exercise. They don't know why they're doing it. They're not sure what this is supposed to do. They don't like doing this. Their boss told them to, so they did it, and that's it. So there's a huge disconnect there. I see that actually frighteningly common thing. It's pretty common. We all do that. Like every job has stuff that you don't understand. Every job has stuff that's like, okay, I'll do that. But that's like a really bad way to sell.
Yeah, no, it is. And that's probably why people don't have success.
So teaching is partly doing. Actually, I would say it's mostly doing. And that's antithetical to other types of training that I think accountants get. So you learn the thing, you understand the regulation, and then you apply it, right? No, you go out there, you try some stuff, you come back, learn what you did. And then you kind of extrapolate what you're carrying forward from that. That experiential learning component is extremely antithetical. And I think once that equation clicks for people, they're like, oh, okay, the learning sometimes comes after the effort. And yes, it's true.
Just thinking about that, trying to apply it.
Is there something that comes up for you, Denise, that you're like, oh gosh, yeah?
No, I think a lot of times when you said that, it's best for me to learn something when I actually explain it to someone else. And when I'm teaching someone else, because then I feel like, well, I've seen some of the gaps, and then you get the feedback from them. And so that to me is more the learning piece. And so that's what resonates with me.
Yeah, absolutely. I actually love teaching for that exact reason, is that I get the best benefit.
You do. And I think a lot of times people feel like, oh, I don't need that. But that really is a critical piece. Just a question to you, because you work with a lot of clients, and sometimes clients don't want to move out of their comfort zone, like all of us, right? We like to be there. How do you help them to do that? What techniques do you use? So if we're working with clients and we see that there's so much opportunity, which there is, how do we help them move from A to Z?
So the situation is pretty typically conservative mindset, taking risks, comfort zone, all that pretty scary. It's scary to go outside of comfort zone. The shortest distance I have found between getting from A to Z or wherever you're headed is for people to connect with what they actually want. If you actually want that, brand new suit that you've been eyeing in the store window, you will figure out a way to get there. If you really want to take that bucket list vacation, you will really find a way to get there. If you really want XYZ outcome, you will find a way to get there. You'll find a way to tolerate the discomfort. You'll find a way to push through that. You'll find a way to come back to the effort after you've been thrown off or discouraged or shut down or told no. You will find a way. If you stay true and really focus on what you really want, I think there's so few limits. There are so few limits that humans encounter in that pursuit. We see people do hard stuff all the time. It's not that, discomfort, getting out of your comfort zone is so hard. It's one hard thing that I see humans do every day. I see parents deal with difficulty. Even parents of fur babies who are sick and need to go to the, emergency room in the middle of the night. We do hard stuff all the time. We make tough decisions all the time. So it's just a decision at the end of the day. This is going to be uncomfortable. This will take effort. And is it something you're willing to do or not willing to do? And I think there's a lot of emotion in that moment. There's a lot of fear that is justified through logic. I said, that makes me feel weird. No, we can't do that now. That spend feels risky right now. No, we don't have budget for that, blah, blah, blah. It is actually coming from an emotional part. And what I see people over and over again, even in their pursuit of success and their version of failure, is an emotion they're pursuing or avoiding. it's really fascinating.
And the emotion, it can propel you or it can hold you back, depending, right, on how you use it. And as you know, you want to always mitigate your risk to some extent.
No, it's true. Like they're inherently risky things. Like every new hire is a risk. Every tech adoption is a risk. Every new acquisition or transaction is a risk. Every new promotion is a risk. Any new client is a risk. We take risks all the time. People take risks all the time in this profession. They just don't see certain things as, really worth getting worked up about. And others are. And I'd ask why? What's going on there?
I mean, if I'm comfortable, I always I got to go to the uncomfortable, because to me, that's where the growth is.
I think you're right about that. People who are in comfortable, stable positions, when's the last time they had to onboard as a new employee? They've lost all contact with how challenging that moment is, how many questions you have about what is culturally normative and stuff. I always kind of cracked up in not sort of a ha-ha, but a oh kind of way when someone who'd been there for 20 years said, oh, it's so simple, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, yeah, you were born here. I'm new. How dehumanizing to reduce my experience to something you think is not an issue. You haven't been here in forever. You've not had to be challenged in this way. I think senior leaders forget. It's not mystery why, but just be cognizant of the fact that you forget over time how hard certain things were, what you didn't know, how maybe you've lost the ability to learn how to learn. Maybe it's been so long since you've actually been uncomfortable. It's hard. It's hard work to stay self-aware like that.
It is. It's self-aware. It's a great segue to my next question for you is so from a next gen, because you mentioned that, right? We lose touch with that piece. How do you develop your next gen leaders and still have that self-awareness and help them kind of be uncomfortable and recognize some of those elements?
There's a lot of intergenerational dynamics in the workplace kind of verbiage. And I think a lot of assumptions are frankly extremely harmful. They just that. They always, okay, are you hearing language here that is probably not helpful? So first of all, treat them like humans. No, it's not us, them. It's a you and me. It's an us versus the challenge in the market, So when you approach it like that, I think that opens the conversation up for a way better two-way street. And all good partnerships start with that. All good collaborations start with that sort of open two-way back and forth. And if you expect people to listen to you, you should also expect to listen to people. Paying attention to another human takes a lot of time and effort. Investing in them takes time and effort. And so there's a lot of lip service paid to what senior management wants to see from XYZ cohort or whatever. But there's no personal investment or commitment to that. There's a big disconnect. Oh, that's someone else's job, or I'm not good at that, right? And I will come back to that comment, that topic you said, it's uncomfortable. Yeah, maybe you are kind of a not great mentor. If someone on your team was underperforming in a certain area, what would you put on the performance evaluation? Take a class. Go learn from so-and-so. So is that not also something, if you want to be a better mentor, you could study? Is that not something, that is available? There's so much amazing content out there. And I think that's a personal commitment thing. Structurally, I'm starting to see more firms engage coaching as sort of a regular part of their inputs. And I think that's beautiful. There are great reasons to have like group trainings on different things at a certain level, management style, personal experience, personal advancement and ambition plays a very critical part. It's subjective. Who is this one leader in the context of this particular team in this very particular moment? That equation is completely new in the history of the world. So you need a tool that's equally specific. And I think coaching is a great tool for that.
When I was coming up, it wasn't as big of a deal. People thought, "Oh, you're weak. You're a service lead. You're weak," and it's the best gift to any young person that you can have.
Oh, I think it's great. What if a second year associate was given 2 hours of coaching for their first year? So for a few $100, you might improve their engagement score considerably. They might remember some of those conversations for the rest of their careers. That is how impactful coaching can be. Everyone encounters challenges too. Everyone does. Wouldn't you love to give people this sort of nearly magical tool to help them through that and accelerate their growth? And then they're back on track, back performing, they're firing on all cylinders. There are very few tools that can do that in the workplace. And I think coaching is one of them. Listening sessions, like if you don't do employee surveys, do them. Listen to the comments, have a conversation about it, report back on what you have decided to invest in and whatnot, involve people in the problem solving. Like there's structural things, but I think looking at people as human beings and being willing to spend the time and effort to treat people as individuals is very, very important.
I 100% agree. And now I'm going to tag what you've been talking about, the listening and relationship piece and business development. So a lot of times when you say and I know a lot of the firms are saying to the younger staff, you have to be part of the business development, right? Be part of the growth strategy. And a lot of times when you say to individuals, young or old, like business development, networking, they're like, I hate it. Tell us how to love it or how to engage in it with a different perspective.
Tell us how to love it. It makes me think about the Kubrick movie, How Do I Learn to Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb? Sorry, that's a little bit of my nerd coming out. Apologize. You don't have to love it. You don't have to love the thing. You just need to try it. It's like that new veggie you put on the kids' plate. You don't have to like it. You need to try one bite. That's actually what I do with my kids.
Does it work, Leah?
Yeah, because there's a reward on the other side. There's like they get to watch their movie or whatever it is that's happening. But it's also a habit, creating a habit and normalizing getting outside your comfort zone. And it can be a team effort. Like, hey, as a group, like a group date, we're all going to this thing, and we're going to have a social afterward. So it doesn't have to be like all, on your own. Hey, you young person associate, get out there and like, you have to create some kind of structure for that to become more executable. You have to find the right place for them. So it does take effort. What's the right first experience? And then work with them to set a goal. Like, I'm not joking about that. I'm handing out business cards. If people have social anxiety, which is more common than I think we'd like to admit, or some other type of thing that inhibits their ability to show up and be present in a group, it is a perfectly fine goal to make the definition of success: show up, pass out your business cards, have a few conversations, practice your pitch once, and go home. People don't know if they're going to like it until they get there. Most of the time, actually, I've never heard a time when someone comes back and says, oh my God, that was so much worse than I thought it was. No, it's almost always like, that was so much easier than I thought it was. I didn't know why I was afraid. So it's that learning by doing. The buddy system is really good. Finding some sort of point of interest there. Like if you go to something boring for a boring reason, for no reason you understand for your career, it's going to be really crappy. But if you're like, oh my gosh, there's this new speaker at this event, and it's all about Asian Americans and business leadership, I can connect with that. The world is broad enough where you can find a lot of those opportunities. So there's a more than a one dynamic. There's a two for double feature kind of deal where there's more than one benefit there.
Yeah. I mean, showing up is half of it, right? Just show up. That's key. That is.
And I'm sorry to belabor this point, and I know I'm talking a lot, but this is a podcast.
Well, this is we want to hear from you, Leah. Yeah.
Thank you. It's not a position I find myself in all the time. I also spend a lot of time with people breaking down what is networking, why do you network, and what are you trying to get out of it? And so there are particular things I'm looking for out of any potential business relationship or friendship. And actually, sales is on the bottom of that list. I'm looking to hang out with people I like, that I can get along with. Because hanging out with people I don't like is really hard. I'm looking for people who are interesting, not boring. So if I find them interesting, that's great. I'm looking for people with some overlap and commonality. If we have nothing in common to talk about, that makes it for a pretty boring lunch or Zoom coffee or whatever. I'm looking for people who bring new information to me, whether that's stuff from their world, they know more about than me, a news article, a book they're reading, or podcast they're listening to, hint, hint, nudge, nudge, or just, I don't know, something they worked on with a client. I find new information very, very helpful. It can provide me a lay of the land, give me a weird, esoteric detail about the market I wasn't aware of before, and trigger a completely new thought process for me. And then finally, if all things go well and I can earn trust and they trust me, that's when sales happens. But again, you look at your time. Are you really wanting to spend time with people who don't share the same values, who don't have the same clients, who you don't like, who you can't trust and respect? Like, no.
The trust is key. Yeah, the trust piece is key.
Encouragement comes through those conversations, inspiration, great leadership tips, great, restaurant and book recommendations, stuff that enhances my life, like immediately. That's what I'm looking for.
Love that. So we could talk for a long time. I'm so enjoying the conversation, but I have one last question for you. So what has been the biggest challenge or surprise that you've had during your career, where you said, oh, I didn't really think I'd be experiencing this, or oh, this is great.
Oh, this is great. Challenges usually don't start with, oh, this is great. I think I'm going to take the risk today and share something very personal, and for the first time publicly. I am a late in life diagnosee of ADHD. I got diagnosed this year.
Thank you for sharing and trusting us.
Sure. I think it's an important story that many folks my age and older, we didn't have the benefit of growing up in a world where neurodiversity was well understood. They still don't understand enough about how certain things express in women. And there's still so much, noise around what to do about that and what that means and stuff. What that meant for me. So I was doing something, my son and various family members have ADHD. And it didn't occur to me that maybe I did too. But I was reading something and it was like, here's what ADHD brains like. And it was some kind of short list. And then as I read this, a very strange sensation came over me, and I thought, oh my God, it's like looking in a mirror. And I stopped dead in that moment. And I was like, holy cow, maybe I'm some kind of weird hybrid. Nope, I'm a full blown ADHDer. And it now explains some of the challenges I've had. One of them I've demonstrated and spoken about curiosity, knowing when to bring that forward. Anything new and novel is always going to make my brain happy. So verbal things that, in women, verbal control is sometimes harder. I've always been a little fidgety and stuff. Like, there's just all this stuff, and this big, very chilling almost aha moment of looking at my entire career path and going, oh my goodness, that's why that was hard. That's what was going on in that moment. So to rewrite your own past in one fell swoop is pretty overwhelming. There was another story, though, that surfaced during that moment for me. I was like, well, look how far I've come, even in spite of that, whatever it is, whatever we want to think about this. And I felt okay. I was like, oh, that's just like a consolation prize. Like, oh. But I'm actually increasingly proud of what I've been able to accomplish with that. And so I would just say, I'm glad. I'm glad I know. I'm glad I know.
Well, I appreciate you sharing the story because we always encourage everyone in all our events and where we are to, we always say bring your authentic self. And that gets old after a while, but it's really bringing your real self to whatever you are. And that really gives the uniqueness and the richness to being together, in my opinion. And I really appreciate you sharing that because a lot of times we ask in our meetings, like, you get the best of me when you, right? Because everybody's so different. We're all wired different. And you need to be aware of that really to get the best of everyone because once you do, you're unstoppable.
I can't agree hard enough with that. There was a question I was mulling over in preparation for today is what's the definition of leadership, which is maybe something that would have come up today. And I worked really hard on that. And it aligns very closely with what you just said. Here's my working definition right now is I'm not actually interested in leadership. It's a hypothetical concept. I am interested in leaders and what they do. And I'm interested in good leaders. A good leader is someone who consistently brings out the best in others, including themselves, toward a goal. And then I had a thought about bad leadership. And of course, I think all of us instinctively know who's a good leader and who's a bad leader. It's a gut feel, right? So bad leadership, the hallmark of bad leadership for me isn't failure. They're exceptionally effective and powerful leaders overseeing the demise of their companies or death of industries, right? There are good people doing good work. It's just the cards were stacked against them. Or something happened that somehow didn't allow them to enjoy that success. Bad leaders are not, the hallmark of bad leadership isn't failure, it is carnage in their wake. And I think we all know what that means. Burnt out, strained relationships, financial difficulty, whatever harm you think can come out of doing any type of business. I think carnage is in the wake of poor leadership, including to their own health.
No, I mean, that's powerful because it is what you do, and you could be very successful in goals to that point, but it's how and how many people are laying on the ground after you did what you did. And that is a sign, right? And that's part of the whole equation. Should be. So it's that was that was great. That's like a drop the mic moment, Leah.
This has been a great conversation. It's really exciting to think about what's in store for this industry and what's coming next. It's also overwhelming and daunting. And I won't catalog the number of changes happening, but it's a lot. And so I love being a part of an effort to bring forward stronger leaders and to support existing leaders and to grow that next gen. That's what's going to make the difference.
100%. And I'm excited too of what's coming. It's tough. It's a hard road, but with the hard roads, a lot of times the success is even sweeter on the other side. And it's leaders like you that help us. I mean, honestly, they give me hope. And they, because you all work, I can't think of another profession. And I was reading an article the other day that has the camaraderie, the individuals that really want to help and that truly are committed. And to me, that's part of who we are. And so it gives me a lot of hope for the future. So with that, I want to thank you for just sharing and honestly sharing the story and being so open. I really appreciate that. And I look forward to your leadership going forward and everything that you're doing to propel the profession forward.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Rise and Stride is produced by the California Society of Certified Public Accountants. To learn more, visit calcpa.org.